Hey there, my name is Trevor, and today I'll be narrating the story of Sarah Wilson, who had an amazing revelation during her near-death experience. In a world we can't fully comprehend, Sarah, a soul searching for answers, was enveloped in a heavenly symphony. Her time on the other side was filled with breathtaking scenes of animals and people dancing together in harmony. This divine revelation, a rich tapestry woven with threads of love and connection, transformed Sarah's perspective on life here on Earth. Before we get started, make sure to leave a comment with your name and city for good luck. With that said, let's listen to Sarah's story. On April 3rd, 2008, I was doing chores when all of a sudden I felt a terrible pain in my stomach, like something was digging deep inside me. I finally lost consciousness as the pain got worse and worse until it was unbearable. I woke up in the hospital with my husband by my side. The doctor told me I had acute appendicitis and told me that the appendix is an organ that looks like a small tube and is at the end of the big intestine. When the appendix gets infected or blocked, it can lead to a lot of pain and swelling. If you don't treat it, it can burst, which can cause major problems or even conditions that could kill you. I was told that I needed surgery to get rid of my appendix. The doctor reassured me that it was a normal process with few risks, even though I was worried about the risks. I agreed to go ahead with the surgery after giving it a lot of thought. The surgery went well in the afternoon of that day. Using an endoscope, the doctor made a small cut in my belly and took out the appendix. I was glad that everything went well and that I was on the way to getting better. The doctor told me that everything had gone well and that my stomach had been taken out completely after the surgery. But I had to stay in the hospital to be watched over more closely to make sure I fully recovered. During this time, the doctors found that my wound was infected, which meant I had to have a second surgery. They looked at the fluid from the affected area and found staph bacteria in it. The doctor put me to sleep before the second surgery, but I could still hear things around me after a while. The doctors were talking about my 2-year-old daughter and sighed as they said they were worried that I might never see her again. They also talked about my dad and my husband. It made me feel confused and angry. Why are they talking so badly about my family and me? I'm still here. They shouldn't talk that way. They know I can still hear them. I knew right then that my situation was very bad. The staph bacteria had spread to most of my body, making it harder to get rid of fully. The infection's cause was still unknown during the first surgery, even though all the medical tools had been cleaned and sanitized. My family was gathering around me when I woke up in the intensive care unit. Their faces were filled with sadness. An air tube was put into my throat, which made it impossible for me to talk. I really wanted to convince them that things were fine and that it wasn't so bad. I was able to make a winning sign when the doctor came in and asked how I was feeling. He left the room to talk to my parents, and I could hear parts of what they were saying. "Doctor, what does she have?" My mom was scared and asked, "What should we do now?" As the staff had just started to tell people about the news, it became dangerous. "Is it really that bad?" my husband asked. The doctor responded in a serious tone, confirming that the situation was very bad. He said that brain damage was a chance, and that antibiotics might be used to fight the bacteria in my body. He told me I had two choices: to keep taking antibiotics, which had risks, or to stop the treatment completely, which would probably mean I lost the case within days. My parents and husband finally got to go home, but it was sad because the hospital didn't have any extra beds for them. That awful sore throat made me want to tell the nurse next to me. I asked her for a pen and paper because I couldn't talk. It said, "My throat hurts." The nurse gently patted my head and told me that some pain was normal, but she couldn't take out the tube just yet. After about 2 hours, I had the most amazing experience of my life. Another nurse told her that she was going to get her daughter from school. Soon after, the second nurse told me she was going to leave for a moment to get some water. Not long after they left, I started having more trouble breathing because sputum was building up and blocking the tube that was meant to bring oxygen to my lungs. It was impossible for me to scream. My body shook in pain and seconds seemed like hours. When the alarm went off, a lot of doctors and nurses ran into my room at once. They were so scared that they could barely speak as they yelled for help, their voices rising in a crazy rage. Even though I could hear everything, I was struggling to breathe. The doctor quickly tried to clear the blockage by giving juice through a tube. I remember stopping to breathe and my heart stopping to beat. At that very moment, I felt like I was leaving my body. When I opened my eyes again, I was still wearing my hospital gown and floating in the air. There was no longer any pain, and I felt a deep sense of relief. I could see my body lying on the bed with a bunch of worried doctors around it. Suddenly, I felt a strange force coming down from above and getting closer and closer, like it was leading me away from this world. I was scared and didn't know what to do. I fought it because I wanted to stay with my family and in my body. I was scared at the thought of being taken away and never coming back. All of my efforts to fight back were useless, though, because the power was too strong. In the end, I gave up when I realized I had to leave this world. As soon as this force lifted me, I began a wonderful trip. I saw a huge tree whose top was obscured by bright light. It was surrounded by many small animals that lived together peacefully. There was a peace and love around me that I had never felt before. I could feel their soft voices in my soul. As I continued to float up, my body relaxed more and more, both on the outside and the inside. A wide range of animals that looked like none I had ever seen before came into view. Their colors were bright and beautiful, and they made us feel like we were old friends getting back together. As I walked forward, I saw many children, each with their own beautiful features and skin color. As they ran and played in the fields, their faces were beaming with happiness. I followed their laughter and soon found myself looking at a beautiful garden with a big waterfall in the middle. As I got closer to the park, I saw a lot of people, teenagers, middle-aged adults, and older people, surrounded by a feeling of peace and happiness. They both had smiles on their faces, and you could feel the love in the air. There were flowers of every color around the pond, and people were talking to each other in a way that felt like they were talking through the flowers. Some people sat quietly and got lost in their books or their thoughts. Being in this peaceful spot didn't hurt or bother me. But all of a sudden, I thought about my parents and husband. I knew they were having a hard time. A wave of worry went through me, but then I remembered that they would get here eventually. As I went deeper into the yard, I saw a big group of happy, active older people. They walked along a path lined with flowers. A beautiful river ran nearby, mirroring the peace and happiness of this amazing world. I was filled with awe as I saw the light off in the distance. Could this be where I'm going? The more I got close, the stronger the love around me got. It was like the light was calling out to me and beckoning me in. As I walked, I felt surrounded by love and peace, which was unlike anything I had ever felt before. It was like all the weight in my soul had been lifted. This place gave off an overwhelming sense of love and happiness, which made me thankful for the strange force that led me here. I felt a soft hand touch the top of my head all of a sudden, and a strong wave of love went through me. "Be calm. You can't stay here yet," a soft voice said. That moment made me wonder a lot, but I knew my journey wasn't over. As I started to come back, I saw myself lying in a hospital bed while doctors tried to bring me back to life. I felt love and peace coming from the same unknown force that had been with me before. But I didn't want to go back into my body right away. The beauty of that event stayed with me, which made the thought of going back scary. The voice came back, this time stronger and clearer. "You have too much to do. Too many people need you." I understood at that moment that my job wasn't done yet, and that I couldn't just leave this world. The mystery force led me back to my body in a firm but gentle way. As soon as I walked back in, I felt a sharp pain. When I opened my eyes, there were a lot of doctors around me. Their faces showed a mix of worry and haste. My chest got hot and fear set in. I started to scream, "No! I don't want to go back. I do not wish to return." But no one heard me because the noise and chaos around me drowned them out. As I felt myself slipping away and falling asleep again, a wave of desperation hit me. No one seemed to understand how badly I wanted to get away from the pain all around me. Even though my heart had stopped beating at that point, the doctors wouldn't give up. There was the movement of my heartbeat again after what seemed like forever. A doctor stayed by my side all night. As I slowly came to, I was vaguely aware of my surroundings and confused. When the doctor brought me back, I felt like I should blame him. The pieces slowly started to fit together as the hours went by. It hit me that I was still here for a reason, and that knowledge gave me a deep sense of acceptance. I told the doctor about my experience, and after a moment of quiet, He started telling me about other people who had similar near-death experiences. He told me that things like this happen more often than I might think, and that the strange force I felt could have come from a deep-seated faith or trust in me. When he asked if I was religious, I told him I wasn't. This made me think about whether looking for faith could help me make sense of what I had seen. The doctor stressed that religion can give people strength when they are facing death and hard times. The words he spoke to me made me feel better and helped calm the chaos in my mind. When I got back home, I felt a lot of different feelings. I was thankful to be with my husband and family again, but I was also upset and confused about the deep things I had been through. The scenes played over and over in my mind, feeling intense and real. I couldn't figure out what they meant or how they would affect my life going forward. My husband and I tried to talk about what had happened. I told him about the light I had seen and the overwhelming power I felt. He tried to make me feel better by telling me it was probably just a dream from the surgery. I could see his point of view. It was a strange and hard-to-explain event after all. Many times while I was lying in bed, I thought about that moment, especially the voice that told me I still had a lot to do and a lot of people who needed me. No matter how much my husband didn't believe me, I was sure that what I had experienced was real. Not a dream or a picture caused by drugs, it was a real event. I knew that this event would have a big effect on the rest of my life. Being alive and having the chance to do something important made me feel very thankful. Inspired by the lessons I learned on that amazing journey, I chose to treasure this chance and work toward living a life with meaning.